jigger to start. There we go. All right. Well, good morning and welcome to everyone. Thanks for being here on this Friday Eve, kind of like New Year's Eve, but Friday's Eve, I guess we call it, right? Hey, before I get rolling and we get stuff going, does anyone have any questions? Silence. I think that can sometimes be a good thing. All right. Okay, we'll go with it's a good thing. I wanted to say and remind everyone one more time, and this will be the last time of the term, about rubrics and checklists, because when I've just finished marking all of your lesson plans, I could not believe how many people did not either include their rubric or they included the rubric, but it wasn't completed. And the rule has been since the day that we talked about the course outline is that all rubrics and checklists must be submitted with every single assignment and they must be completed. That has not changed since the first day of class. So from this point forward, there are no more reminders. If you don't do them, I just take the marks off, and which is kind of was on this assignment was kind of too bad because there were people that had really pretty decent lesson plans that ended up losing a whole bunch of marks because they didn't follow instructions. So I'm not going to mention it anymore. I've talked about why it's important and how it matches to the TQS and all that other jazz. So if you continue not to submit them completed, then I will just continue to take marks off. So sorry. All right. Okay. So what we're moving on to next then is, if I am correct, we still need to finish off this HyperDoc template number 2. Am I correct? Somebody give me a yes or a no. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Clara. That's kind of what I thought in my tiny little brain. But I just wanted to double check. I just want to see one thing here. This is the one I think I want. There we go. No, that is not the one I want. Hold on here. I gotta find my mouse arrow now. Okay. Oh my gosh, goodness. All right. So where the heck did I put that? Where is that? That's what I want right there. All right. So just do a little tab management here. There we go. Okay. Okay, so if we go back to our HyperDoc template number 2. So remember, all we've done here is we've taken our original blank template with nothing in it. We've made a copy of it, okay? And now this is like our tips and tricks one. So this one doesn't need to get handed in, right? Our first HyperDoc template, the blank one, needs to get handed in with its checklist completed. And then eventually you are going to complete a teachable HyperDoc that you will then submit with the rubric completed that goes with that one as well. Okay. All right. So remember that the Discover and Watch section is, this is like doing a Google search, okay, comma, but you're doing it for the kids. Okay. So today's hot topic will be dolphins. And so when we get to the teachable or to the demo one that we're going to do, just like we did with the brain lesson plan, we'll put a HyperDoc together. Our topic is going to be dolphins. Okay. So this would be like telling students, all right, everybody grab a Chromebook, and I just want you to go into the search engine, and I want you to search the word dolphins. Well, but kids, that'll take us everywhere. And when we do that search, you'll see Miami Dolphins come up, and it's actually a really pretty dominant theme within that search. But that's not what we want. Obviously, we want things about dolphins. So we're going to curate. Remember, the words we use here is, curate or aggregate. I think that's how you spell aggregate. Okay, that's what we're doing. And remember here that we'll put this here this way. The number of links you provide is dependent on grade and age, right? Obviously, kids from, let's say, grade 4 and above, they can handle 4 or 5 links, right? But grade 1 kids, kindergarten kids, you are going to have 1 link. That's it, maybe 2 at the most, right? So, so the number of links you provide is dependent on grade, and I'll say to a max when I, of 5. Again, that's, same kind of idea, that's a general guideline. Again, depending on your kids, depending on the nature of the topic, depending on the importance of that 6th or 7th link, you could do that, right? I mean, especially if a couple of links are just, let's say, like, there's 2 links there that are pictures of dolphins and there's really nothing for them to do, but just look at a picture of the different types of dolphins, that kind of idea, right? Then you might be able to get away with a few more, okay? But think 5 is kind of the magic number that we're shooting for here. Okay, and then the other last thing sort of in this box that I want to make sure that we just keep pounding this into our heads is that you need to preview all links, okay? Because you never know what's going to be on a page, near the bottom, what kind of advertisements or things that are going to be there that may not actually be suitable or appropriate for the kids in your class, regardless of their age, okay? All right. So again, this is what we're doing here. Just like simply, if I said to all of you, everyone open up a search engine and just type in the word dolphins and see what comes up, that kind of idea. Okay. Then here, we actually want students to we want them to still be sort of doing that investigative phase and that learning phase, but there might be actually here something for them to actually do. Okay. So that was like an example would be maybe we're going to have a picture of those dolphins, and what you're going to do is you're going to ask them to label and name the 5 types of dolphins on that page or something like that. Okay, so let's see. This is more interactive than the first discover section where they're just being passive and they're just looking at what resources are there, right? So this is more interactive with something to do. Okay. The second bullet we can put is you can still use other links as information only, info only. Okay, so it kind of could be a little bit of a combo, but generally speaking, what we're looking at here is for something for them to learn from, but actually there's something for them to do. I'll give you an example on one of my other lesson plans. On the sample lesson plan, there's a link in my Discover section. There's a link just to learning about the parts of the brain and things like that. But in the Learn Dig Deeper, there is an actual 3D model that they can manipulate and look at the different sections of the brain and things like that. So that's a little bit, like next level than just sitting there looking at a picture. And that's kind of what we're getting at here in the Learn and Dig, deeper kind of idea. Okay. And then don't forget, actually, I'll put this for both of these, just as a reminder to ourselves. This is the content portion of the lesson, right? This is the stuff that, again, what we're doing here is the kids are doing this at home, remember? Just like you are doing this at home. So this is really partly the teaching part of the lesson. So same thing we can say down here. I guess I could just copy and paste it, right? I can just copy and paste it. Oh, I'll make that a little bit bigger too. My apologies that it's not bigger. There we go. And then I'll just paste that down there. Oh, gosh. Okay. There we go. Copy and paste. There we go. So this still is the content portion of the lesson. So again, think of this as instead of you standing and delivering at the front of the class with, whatever resources you've got, right? Remember on here, video, audio, animations, pictures, text, whatever, you're giving it to them in these 2 sections. And then once they've worked through these sections and these links for you, what we want to do down here is we want to have some self-assessment pieces, right? So what we're going to do is, first thing I'm going to say is a max of 2 things, okay? Because remember over here, if you want to give us or put a little side comment in here, is the time to complete any HyperDoc should not be any longer than the actual in-class time you would have to teach this lesson. to teach this lesson. Okay, so again, if you've got 40 minutes to teach this lesson on dolphins in class, at the school, this take-home HyperDoc shouldn't take them 3 hours to do, right? So that's what I'm getting at here, is that the overall time to complete should not be longer than the actual class time. So maximum of 2 things here, okay? I'm actually just going to move that down just a bit here. And I'm just going to say here, I'm just going to put these words in here. Just 1 sec here too. And this is, I would leave these words on your actual, you could even leave this on your actual template if you wanted, is, how much did you learn? So we're asking the students that, they're sitting at home at the kitchen table, and we're asking this question: how much did you learn? Right? And in class at the school, we could find this out very easily, right? We could just do some verbal questions, just checking for understanding. We could have, a variety of things that we could do to ensure that they've actually internalized that content, right? All right, how much did you learn? Do you think you have it down? Okay, so another question for them. And then, let's find out. Okay, and then, what we're going to do here, the find out part is, it could be a game, a quiz, an activity, something like that, that you want them to learn. But and you can decide this number for yourself. My number is they have to get 100%. So here I'm just going to say you need to get 100% on the, and I'm just going to put that at the very beginning of that sentence. You need to get 100% on the game, quiz, activity, etc. If you don't, comma, go back to the discover and learn sections, and review. And then here, I'm just gonna make a new little bullet point, is you can do the, and instead of, here, I'll just put all these words here. You can do the, comma, right? You can do the game, quiz, activity, etc. as many times as you want, And one of the nice things about doing this way is, where in class we may not be able to give students that opportunity to do that, to keep going back and trying over and over and over again. This leads to what they call mastery learning, right? Where students are mastering that content before they move on to the next step, which is a piece that is missing from our whole education system, right? At least based on the way it's set up now. Okay, and then maximum of 2 things. Okay, as I said here. All right, now down here on the show what you know section, just again, as we write ourselves some little notes, I'm just going to put down here, there's really not much more for me to put down here, but I am going to put this. I'm just going to center it. I'm just going to paste it in there. So just to sort of remember, this is equivalent to the homework or projects or activities being completed in class, but and not at home. So this is the homework piece. So if you want to say, remind yourself that this is the homework piece that's homework being taken back to the school, done in class. Okay, so, or words to that effect if you want. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to see if I can just put that on one line. Oh, look at that. Yeah. All right, I'm actually just going to make that a little bit smaller too. And pick a font here. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so this is equivalent to the homework portion, but they're bringing that back to the school. So discover, learn, and self-assess are done at home. Okay, then they come and they do their homework. And if you want, you could even put that up here if you want to just kind of even remind yourself further, they homework, done at school or something like that. Okay, now I'm not going to review how to find an outcome and how to the citation on that. You all know that from your brain lesson plans. Remind me, did we do ICT outcomes and did I show you how to dig those up? I can't remember. Nobody's responding. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Alman. Okay. So I'm not going to do either one of those. And then objectives, same idea here is what are you doing in class? That's so actually, let's write this down. What are you doing in class that is supporting the outcomes? Right? And I'll give you examples here. Example, are you doing group work? Are they doing, oopsie. Are they, what's the word I want to use here to check here? Successfully. Yeah, I think I'll use successfully. Successfully. Oh, no, you know what? I'm going to use the word, sorry, accurately is a better word. Sorry, accurately. Taking notes. Right? Are they, using the technology appropriately, stuff like that. Those are what objectives are, right? They are not a regurgitation of the outcome, or they're not like a summary almost of what the outcomes themselves. And that's what I saw in some of your lesson plans, is that that some of your objectives read like outcomes. And knowing what I know, again, I don't have all curriculum documents memorized, but knowing what I know about most of them, for some people, your objectives sounded like outcomes, and that's not really what we want. What we want is, by doing this group work, then what they're doing is in the lab, by doing lab, with a lab partner, they being able to work, successfully, or whatever word, again, I can't get that word out of my head, to work with a partner, students will work with a partner to finish their lab reports, something like that. That is not an outcome. That is something that they're doing to get to that outcome. Okay, so remember that for this and for future lesson plans. That's kind of what we're aiming at. Okay. All right. Questions about what we've got down there so far? Because we're kind of done that piece. Everybody's good? All right. So again, you don't need to hand this one in. This is just future reference to remind you, next fall or a year and a half from now, when you're like making a HyperDoc, or you're explaining a HyperDoc to somebody else that doesn't know anything about HyperDocs. This is kind of what happens in each of the different sections. Okay. All right. So this one you can just tuck away for historical sense for later on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our blank lesson plan here that I've got. And what I'm going to do is now we're going to make a copy of this one again. So we're going to go File, make a copy. And I'm going to call this, because this is going to be our example. This is going to be our Dolphins HyperDoc. I don't have to call it a template. It's not that. So Dolphins HyperDoc, and then you don't have to put section C on there if you don't want. Okay. Perfect. I'll just make that a little bit bigger. Okay. So remember, up here, what we're going to do, literally what we're going to do, is we're going to go to our search engine and we're going to type in Dolphins. Okay. And like I told you, everything comes up football right off the hop. But what we're looking at is, let's just scooch on down a little bit more here. And here's our first resource, right? Is Wikipedia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that link in a new tab so I don't lose my search page here. And the group that we're looking at here, let me just go back to classroom for a second. The age group that we're looking at is around grade 4. So we're going to go with 40 minutes of time for this HyperDoc at home again. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. I'll leave that open in case we need to use it after. Okay. And you know what? I'm not really kids could read all of this if they wanted. Okay. But what I want really mostly is just this information for them to read that. Okay, so what we're going to do back on the HyperDoc is, I'm just going to close my template up here, is I'm just going to put in as a bullet, I'm just going to put in Dolphins Wikipedia. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the link. Okay, and I'll just copy that and go back to my HyperDoc. I'm going to paste that link in. To make it turn blue, you can either hit the spacebar or return. Either way, that makes it turn blue. Now, this is just my personal rule. It doesn't have to be yours, but my personal rule is I'll just paste in like the raw hyperlink here if it doesn't wrap onto like a second line. So some hyperlinks, you know, are really, really long, right? So if it's really long and you don't like, you know, to me, it just looks messy, okay? If you don't want that, remember the trick is that you can make the words, any of these words, hyperlink themselves. As long as you highlight them, click the insert link button here. There's also insert link right here, or you could go Command or Control K on your keyboard. Either one of those three ways brings up this window. If you paste your link in there that we just grabbed from Wikipedia and apply it, then that turns those words into a link as well. So you can do either or a combination of both, and that's what you'll see we're going to end up doing on this HyperDoc anyways. Okay, so there's our first thing. Oh, the other thing is, how long is this going to take them to read this? Now, I'll show you the thing that the resource that I use to sort of just generally figure out how long. So what I'm going to do, oopsie, that's a second. Just go back for 1 sec. I'm just going to highlight. Come on, I'm going to highlight all those words. I'm actually going to copy them, and then I'll put this link in the chat for you. Where is it here? Right here. Oops. I use this link to estimate how long that's going to take. Okay. Now that estimate is based on an average reading speed of 200 words per minute. I don't think there's a lot of grade 4s that can read that fast, but let's just throw that. I'm just going to paste that text in here now. Oh, that's a sec here. Obviously I didn't get it. A sec here. Copy. There we go. And then I'm going to paste it in here like so, and then just click estimate reading time. And based on that, whatever calculation up here, it tells us it's about a minute, about 2 minutes. Now, just knowing what I know about grade 4s, because I've taught grade 4, this is probably going to take them at least 6 minutes or more. And that's for probably your quicker kids. So when we go back to our HyperDoc, now remember, we are perfect kids, perfect everything in the classroom. I'm going to say it's going to take them 6 minutes. Okay. And then I'm just going to go in brackets here. And then what I'll end up doing is we're going to end up adding 3 resources here. And then we'll add up in here the whole section, how much the whole section will take them to do. Okay. One of the things that we can do, and I'm just going to open a new tab for I'll put the Readometer link in there for you. Just 1 sec here. There's that link. If you want to bookmark it, or if that interests you in any way, you can also do that for yourself. If you know, I assign a reading to you and you're like, oh man, about how long do you think this is going to take me? If I haven't told you already, you can copy the paste and stuff in there and do the same idea. All right, so all right, I'm just going to close it up because we're only going to do that one time. So I go back. I can close this Wikipedia window too. I'm going to go to YouTube and I'm going to throw a video in there. Okay. And again, what I would do is I would pick the best video and the most appropriate one that I've actually watched, right? But for our purposes, we can just kind of fudge that a little bit. Okay. Incredible dolphin moments, 8 hours of dolphins and relaxing music. I don't think we need that. We'll just go with this first one. Okay. So I click on that.
Question. Would you build a web?
No, I wouldn't. Sorry, sweetheart. I would not do that. Skip ads. There we go. All right. No thanks. And oh, wow. This is a 16-minute video. We're not watching that video. My bad. Coach, 8 hours. Here's what. Oh, how long is this? 5 minutes. Perfect. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, 5 minutes and 3 seconds. I'm just going to grab the link for it. Okay. And I'm going to go back here and I'm just going to say Nat Geo video. And I'm going to paste the link in there. And that was 5 minutes and 3 seconds. So 5 minutes and 3 seconds. And I'm going to put that in there as well. And I'm going to add one more resource. Let's go back to our search page. Okay. And there is actually, let's see if this will work today. This didn't work yesterday. I want us to like sign up and do all kinds of stupid things. Just waiting for it to, I don't think about whatever it's thinking about. Yeah, they want that. First time I went to this site, I didn't ask that. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to facts about dolphins. I'm going to click that one to see what else can we get. Yeah, this is actually a pretty good site here too. So let's go here, ukwhales.org. And and people think about dolphins that dolphins are only found in like tropical waters, and that's not actually true. I'm just going to put this as facts about dolphins. Okay. All right. And I'm going to grab that link up here. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it. All right. We still fell within my personal rule of one line. All right. So we got 3 resources. And this is a whole big long page. Now, I'm just going to estimate that this is going to take them about, let's say 7 minutes to go through. Let's make it 10. 7, 10, yeah, let's say 10. Okay. That's going to take them 10 minutes to go. So now what we've got here is we've got 21 minutes. So time to complete is 21 minutes. 21 minutes. Okay. That is, this last one here is a little bit longer than I wanted, but that's okay. You get the idea. Now, here is, remember, we're actually going to do something, right? On these other pages, there was just stuff for them to read and look. Now, in the Learn and Dig Deeper, that does not negate the fact that you can't use some of these resources up here to actually ask, to have an activity sheet or something that might go with the video, that kind of, or use a Google form to go with the video, that kind of idea. But what we'll do down here is we're going to go back to our search page, and I'm just going to go type in dolphin activities. Okay, and search that. And 10 delightful crafts. Don't really want to do a craft. Oh, I want to do 2 things here. I want to go minus Pinterest. I know lots of people like Pinterest, but I'm going to do that. And I'm going to go minus teachers. Teachers. And so that will exclude those from my search results. All right. Let's see. Learning about dolphins activities for kids. Okay, there's actually a pretty good one on here. Okay. And remember, the same rule goes for HyperDocs as it went for the lesson plans. If you can find the resource on the web, then go ahead and use it and link to it. So I'm just going to grab this link. Okay. And then I'm going to go, I'm just going to say this is a sort of ocean activity. And I'm going to paste that link in there. And we're going to have them do that. And I'm just going to say that's going to take them about 7 minutes to complete. It's not very hard. Okay. And then I'm going to come down here and just make another one here. And let's find another activity. Again, we would check these out in depth, but I'm just trying to save us some time here. Okay. I'm just going to go back to my search engine. Oh, this might be something fun. Let's go there. Let's open that in a new tab. All right, so there's all kinds of things here. Let's try this. So this is what you would be doing for real if you were putting together a HyperDoc, right? Dolphins. All right, we'll just do something simple like this acrostic poem. Okay. And again, remember, kids they know everything they need to know. all that jazz. So let's go back to our HyperDoc, and we're going to go across tick poem, and we're going to paste that in there and do that. So I'm going to we'll do one more just so that we can keep it 3 and 3 on each section. So let's see what else they've got here. Anything else? Handwriting. Yeah, you know what? Let's see here. All right, we'll just do this one too. If you want to click it, just want to see it for 1 sec. Oh yeah, okay, I like it. This is like a graphic organizer, so perfect. Dolphin, and I'm going to call it actually that. So dolphin graphic notes organizer. And let's that link. Yeah, I did. Perfect. Okay. So there's our learn and dig deeper. So they're still learning some stuff, but they're also doing some stuff. Okay. Now down here, because I'm running out of time rapidly. So how much time do I got? Let's go 5 minutes here. And oops, 5 minutes here. Okay. So that is a total of 17 minutes then to complete right here. And so we are now at like 38 minutes. That's okay. We're going to go a little over time here, but we'll just have to do that this time. Okay. All right. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I am just going to go. So the activity that I want is, do I have it here? Where is that? Oh, Kahoot. Perfect. Is we're going to do a Kahoot. And so again, if you can find it, use it. If you don't have to, make it from scratch, it'll save you some time, right? So I'm logged in here. I already did the legwork on finding the Kahoot. Okay. Now, when you find these ones that other people make, you might have to tweak them a little bit. Okay. So I am just going to, I can't remember, I can share this Kahoot. No, that's not what I want to do. Oh, let's go assign, never create. There we go. Perfect. And then, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the URL first of all. So Dolphins Kahoot. I'm going to paste that link in there. And now, so this is one of those links that's really long, and I don't like that. So I'm going to just highlight the word Kahoot here and go Command K, and I'm going to paste that link in with a Command V and go apply, or you can hit return. Okay. Now, to play this Kahoot, they need the code, right? Just like any Kahoot game. So let's copy that code, and actually, I'm going to put in the word game code here. Game code, and we're going to go like that. Okay, and this is going to take them approximately, let's say, 5 minutes. It won't take them long. Well, I'm going to say 10. So that's 10 minutes to complete. There we go. And so we've got 10 here. Okay, so 10 minutes. All right, now this show, remember, so one of the things you can do here if you want is you can do this kind of idea. I'm just going to put some dashed lines in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to put in the words stop here. And then I'm going to put in 10 more. Oh, I'm just going to just copy it. I'm going to copy those and paste them right here. Okay. And so, and if you want to make that red or, make it stand out a little bit more, you sure can do that. I'll make it bold, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger too. There we go. Okay. So they've done this piece up here. It's going to take them 27 or 17, 27. Yeah, a little longer than the 40 minutes, but that's okay. All right. And they're going to stop here. So remember, to show what you know, even if you want to do this, we will, do this at school. That kind of idea if you want. And again, we're also trying to help parents out here figure this out, right? So having the stop here, and then having this, that kind of an idea. And then what we would do, and we're not going to do this for the example, but what we do here then, of course, is we would have some type of an activity they're going to do here. Maybe they're going to make, I think my hot one would be like a dolphin diorama of some sort. This might be a writing project, and this might be maybe like a picture or some type of something easier than that. And then, of course, each one of these will have their own time to complete. Okay. So diorama, that's going to take a lot longer, obviously, than, let's say, I don't know, writing a paragraph about, dolphins, right? That kind of idea. Or you could do something like this. So that was 3 very separate or distinct different kinds of activities. You could also do this. You could stick with, let's say, writing, an ELA item. And this could be a paragraph. This could be a full page, what do you know about dinosaur or dolphins? And then this one could be like, let's say, maybe like a trifold brochure or something like that, where the kids, it takes a lot more time and a lot more effort to do. And when you're letting kids pick these, what I would recommend is that you kind of monitor what they're picking, because you don't want them always picking the mild or the easy all the time. Because even your kids that are at the higher end of ability will sometimes choose the easy way out. So you let them have choice, but also monitor that choice so they're not always just doing the simple thing. Because remember, we want them, eventually to take them to those higher levels of blooms. Okay. And I'm not saying that creating a paragraph or creating a one-page report is not creating, because it certainly is, but it's certainly not at the same level that maybe a diorama would be, or something like that. Okay. And then, of course, here is the part that I'm going to ask you about, is in, let's say, grade 4, whether you pick LA Science, Social, or Science. So, well, kind of science, I guess this would be more science, maybe social. But what I'm going to tell you right now is really there is no place in the curriculum that talks about kids in grade 4 will learn about dolphins. Okay. So then here's my question to you. I'm going to pose this question to you. How do we then justify doing this whole HyperDoc and this whole series of lessons that's going to end up being a series of lessons? How do we justify spending the time doing that when we can't really find it in the curriculum? Because remember, everything that we do has to map back to outcomes, right? So what are we going to do, or how are we going to justify this? Well, we could relate it to science, and if we go here just real quick like a bunny, and we just go to program of studies, and we go down to science, K-6. And this is a really, really important question to answer if you're going to be a K-6 teacher. Okay, if you're going to be at higher grades, you can still use this, but this is how all elementary teachers get away with, like in grade 1, teaching about dinosaurs. Because I can tell you right now, in grade 1, nowhere in the curriculum does it say kids will learn about dinosaurs. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go to that one page right here. Right. So we got waste in our world. Yeah, Elman, we might be able to talk about polluting the oceans, right? Wheels and levers, no. Vehicles, light and shadows, and plant growth and changes. So maybe loosely we could link it to that one. So maybe, but the simplest way to do that is in kind of like your back door to anything you want to do that's not in the curriculum, is the English language arts curriculum. If we go back to our HyperDoc for a second, remember paragraph, full page, trifold brochure, you could find a heap of language arts outcomes that would match those. You could also find, because they're creating text and stuff like that, you could also find a heap of them in the ICT curriculum. You could maybe, if we go, we're not going to go through it, but we could potentially find waste in our world. But this is more about the 3 R's, like reduce, reuse, and recycle. But again, you might be able to loosely apply it to the oceans and all that kind of jazz. Okay. But so the answer to the question is, how do elementary, especially elementary school teachers, get away with teaching dinosaurs? They do it through language arts curriculum, right? And then our objectives here, there would be many, and there would be some that would tie to either the ELA or science outcomes, and we'd have some objectives here that would tie to both of those as well. Okay, questions? Okay, I think the idea behind this is pretty straightforward. Okay, um, and what we do again want to try to avoid is like we did when we took the notes, is trying to make these like digital worksheets. I know that we took a couple of worksheets down here, but mostly that was just for expediency and time saving things. Remember down here under the this part of the self-assess, to remind kids that they need to get 100% on this Kahoot before they can actually consider themselves like done, kind of idea. So they need to get 100% on this Kahoot. They would need to complete all of these things before they're allowed to work on this stuff down here. And of course, remember the rule is, what if they don't come with this done? Well, then the rule is that they work on this stuff in class until it's done and they get 100% on the Kahoot, quiz game, whatever you want to call it. And then of course, people down here working on these other projects, fun projects, whatever you want to call them, they get to, if they've got their stuff done, then they get to work on this stuff in class. If not, these folks here need to, in class, unfortunately for them, would need to do that. Now, questions? Okay, hold on a second. So yeah, it does for sure, right? I mean, so in at the high school level, if you're teaching physics, you don't really get to use language arts outcomes in your physics class, right? Or pick any high school subject. So it only really works. It can work in middle school, because in middle school there we team teach and do things like that. So it could work at the middle school level as well, depending on how that middle school is set up in itself. But high school, unless you're going to team up with, let's say, one of the other subject area teachers, which is quite possible to team teach at the high school level as well. Maybe not as easily done at the high school level. Okay. How do you get everything to fit on one page? Can you make pages long? Yeah, you could. So for sure. And the goal is not, so Olivia, the goal is not necessary to get everything to fit on one page. Okay. But because remember, this is a digital document that is not going to get printed ever, right? So you could go to file page setup and you could pick, of these first three, you could pick any one of those three, okay? Because you're not going to print this out. I mean, 8.5 by 14, just, on a regular sheet of paper, just gives you an extra, about that much on the bottom. So sometimes if I know the whatever I'm creating in Google Docs is going to be digital only and the kids aren't going to print it out, you can make these pages longer if you want. And of course, 11 by 17, if you're not familiar with that side, that is the equivalent of 2 regular sized pages side by side. So it's a really big document. And there's actually, once we get into some Google Drawing stuff, that's generally going to be our go-to size, is 11 by 17. Okay. But again, because it's not ever going to be printed out, the other thing you could do if you wanted is you could play around with page colors if you wanted. Okay. But that's up to you. And you can do that on your final product as well. So what you're going to do then now from this point forward, we should just change our lesson title here to Dolphins, right? And of course, one of the ways I would tie this into would be into Island of the Blue Dolphins, right? We're all familiar with that book, and I think we're probably all familiar with it anyways. And that's sort of another language arts tie-in for this whole thing, right? But again, because this is an elementary level activity, there's lots of cross-curricular magic that you can work to make this, right? Because you could include math in here. You could, obviously include some science that the waste in our world part. LA works fine, and even social studies. I'm not sure. I'm not going to look it up. I'm not sure what grade 4 social studies has in it, but you might even be able to tie social studies into it. So you can do a whole theme. Somebody said themes, I think, up here, or maybe not, but yeah, you could totally make this like a thematic unit and then integrate all different types of curriculum into it. Okay. Yeah, you can use worksheets in the Dig Deeper. Yes, I'll just say yes, you can. Okay. Don't make worksheets your go-to thing if you can possibly avoid it. Having one, like, out of 5 options down here, having a couple maybe would be fine. But if they're all worksheets, no. Okay, so try to mix it up a little bit. Okay, I mean, we got a worksheet here. We've got a poem, which is kind of like a worksheet, but not so much. And then we've got this other activity here that they can do. So, and again, that also depends on your grade. So, K1 and 2, like I would say that for K and 1, you should have one thing, maximum 2. For grade 2, 2 things in each discover and learn, and then one thing down here. And then grade 3 and up, well, 3 things, 4 things, until you get to grade 5 or 6 where it's 5 things, and then stay at 5 things. Okay. So the answer is yes, Haley, you can. Okay. All right. Other questions? Okay. So this is our our sample class one that we've done. Again, you don't have to hand this one in. This is just our sample so that you get a general idea of how this all gets put together. Okay. Remember that whatever resources, and again, we didn't do this, I was hypocritical, but again, just in the spirit of saving time, I didn't check out every single one of these activities or these links to make sure that they're age appropriate. So please make sure that you just take a quick scan of what the link is, what's involved with that link, so that you make sure that it's appropriate. Because again, in the real world, if you didn't do that and that there was something on one of those links that was inappropriate, you're going to have a parent conversation with a parent. Okay, so make sure that it's all all suitable for whatever age group that we're thinking. Okay. Okay, if we go back, so last call on HyperDocs. Yeah, no, Olivia, no. So are you talking about like my little, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes guy here and stuff like that? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, no, not at all. It's just clip art. That's fine. Right. I mean, for me, I just assume, I mean, there's no way in plagiarizing it unless you're trying to tell somebody, hey, oh, hey, I drew this, then you might get yourself in trouble. But everybody knows when you use clip art, it's clip art, and that's what it is. Right. Okay. If you want, just a sec here, where do I have that? Let me just see. Is it over here? Sorry, just let me look at all my bookmarks here. I got lots going on here. I had one. Maybe I took it off. There's if you want to just put, if you put in a school, even if you wanted to put in a search engine, if you put clip art for schools, there's sites that are just dedicated to different little clip arty things. And of course, you can find lots of great clip art in a Google search as well, right? Okay, let's switch gears for a sec then. So we've done that one. We've done that one. I've talked about that. In Google Classroom, I'm just going to close some tabs up here. So all the resources in Google Classroom that you need to finish your completed HyperDoc are here, including the rubric, which is right here. So please make sure again that you include the rubric and that you've actually gone into it and you've gone, okay, yep, for under the Discover. Now, I guess this is an important thing to mention here. In the rubric, it says that it contains 5 or more things. I've already said that if you're teaching K to 1, K1, 1 thing's enough. Grade 2, 2 things is enough. Grade 3, 3 things is enough. Grade 4, probably 3 to 4 things is enough. So if you're doing a grade 1 HyperDoc and you have one Discover, 1 Learn, and 1 thing under self-assess, I will not dock you marks. Okay. So but it's also then important for you on your HyperDoc to let me know what grade your HyperDoc, what you're talking about in your HyperDoc. Okay. So and same thing here under self-assess, it says contains 2 or more. If you have 1, 1's fine. Okay. I won't dock you. Again, I will be sensitive to the age group that you're teaching. Okay. And also the time that you get to actually deliver that lesson. So show me what you know, outcomes, objectives, and then yes. So this is an assignment that has what I call a wow factor. And that is anything that you've done that goes above and beyond the basic requirements for this assignment. Okay, there'll be other assignments in the term that also have a wow factor. And again, because everybody's going to basically do the exact same thing, because I give you a checklist or I give you a rubric, and I get pretty much the same copy of 30 whatever copies of the same thing. What the wow factor is, this is 4 marks for anything that distinguishes your HyperDoc over other people's HyperDocs. So you may or may not get them, but when you are filling out the HyperDoc, and I'll just use this as an example. Again, remember, you can just, you can highlight it, use a highlighter tool, and give yourself a color there or whatever you think, if you've got, that so you can do that. You can use check marks, you can use emojis, you can use however other way that you want to show me that you've looked at this and thought about it. Then that's what I'm looking for on these rubrics and on your checklists. Okay. So there's the rubric. And then just be, again, mindful of the times for instruction. We've sort of settled on that as a class. So those are times for instruction. And then there are some examples here. Also, if you are stuck on ICT outcomes again and citing them properly and all, I did make a video here called All About ICT Outcomes. It is really basically like a 15-minute chit chat about the outcomes themselves, and then also how to cite them. So you might want to just, fast forward through until the point if you need to just remember how to cite them. Okay. Questions about that? No, everybody's good. Okay. Well, and then, so what the next thing that ties into this overall idea of HyperDocs is, if we scooch on up to week 6, is the flipped classroom. And really, when we're flipping a classroom, is a place where you might actually want to use a HyperDoc. Okay, so I have released to you the flipped classroom HyperDoc that's due next Thursday. And that will lead into you actually, and we're not gonna have time for it today, I don't think so, lead into a flipped classroom slideshow that you're gonna use Google Slides. Oh, that's the other thing I have to mention. All of these assignments are all done in Google Apps. And I can't remember if it was this class or one of the other classes, somebody gave me their lesson plan as a Microsoft Word document. I gave them a 0. Okay, when I say slideshow, I'm not talking about PowerPoint. If you know how to use PowerPoint already and that's what you want to use because that's what you know, great. Don't use it, right? Stretch yourself a little bit and use Google Slides, because again, that's what you're going to use in a K-12 environment. You're going to walk into a school and they're not going to have any Microsoft products. So, and you're going to need to be putting things into Google Classroom, or and you can't be putting things in that are Microsoft Docs or Microsoft Word documents or whatever, because kids aren't going to have that software on their Chromebooks. So you need to get to know how to use these Google apps. So again, please don't do that. And the other thing that people are doing, be careful too, is I don't want a PDF version of it. I can't work with a PDF version. So again, if it says a slideshow, I want Google Slides. If it's a doc, I want Google Docs, and et cetera, right? So no Microsoft products, thank you. None at all, unless you don't want to get a good grade. Okay. All right. So the slideshow will be the kind of the culminating activity for this whole idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of flipped classroom notes. Okay. In this HyperDoc, I just want to bring this up here for a second. There's actually more here in this HyperDoc. Okay, because there's some stuff here that lead this slideshow questions and this presentation woosaw. Don't do this stuff. Okay, leave this for next class. We will go into this much more depth next class, because there's also a very specific way that you're going to do these slideshows. Okay, and it's probably the way that you've always done slideshows, and that's not what I want. I want something actually really almost completely different. Okay, and all of the experts in slideshows and that kind of presentation stuff, the way that I'm going to teach you to do this is the way you should do all slides, how everybody should do all slideshows, including your professors at the college and beyond. Okay, but here's a HyperDoc. And in this HyperDoc, what I would encourage you to make sure that you do is watch these videos. Okay, now there's about 30 minutes worth of video here. These are from the experts. This is actually where I'm getting my information about the foundational theoretical stuff about about flipped classrooms. It comes from these folks. So you need to watch these videos. And I'll tell you right now that your quiz number 2 and your final exam will have lots and lots of questions about these videos. So make sure that you watch them, okay? And then you can see I broke my rule here of 5 things, but again, there's quite a few things here, but it doesn't take that long to do. So make sure you do it. You know all the things about HyperDocs. And again, don't go ahead and do the self-assessment piece until I talk about it in class. And so you can see here, even under the show, there's no door number 1, door number 2, door 3. On sometimes when you do a HyperDoc, it's just, you know what, I want this final product for you. This is what I need from you. I don't want any variations of that. So there's the HyperDoc as well. Okay. All right. So in our notes, then let's just move over here to my little blackboard. Let's move on to the next page. And let me just close that up. All right. And we'll start these. I don't think we're going to have time to finish them, but maybe we'll see. Who knows? All right. So we're just going to go here for our notes. Flipped classrooms. And I'm going to go /learning because I'm going to use actually probably both, flipped learning and flipped classroom kind of synonymously. Okay. So we'll put both of those in the title just so you know when I'm talking about flipped learning, it's all the same, kettle of fish. Okay. All right. Let's do the kind of like a little definition here. So and also we're going to abbreviate either FL or FC. So we're going to go flipped learning in this case is a pedagogical approach. Pedagogical approach. Okay. And remember, we're just simply defining pedagogy or pedagogical as the art and science of teaching, right? There's the scientific part, like knowing about blooms and hunters and stuff like that. But there's also the art then of delivering that lesson and engaging kids and things like that. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about pedagogy or pedagogy, okay? Flipped learning is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction. So, right, you standing at the front of the classroom yapping, instruction, or Brad sitting in here on his butt doing what I'm doing right now. Direct instruction moves from the group learning space, from the group learning space, and right behind that in brackets, let's just put the word, here, I'll use a different kind of bracket, put in the word classroom, because that's what the group learning space is the classroom, right? There we go. Okay, so it's a pedagogical approach, which we're moving from that classroom approach to an individual learning space. Individual learning space. Okay, comma. And the resulting group space, the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic interactive learning environment, interactive learning environment. Oh my goodness, Brad. There we go. Environment. I'm just going to abbreviate it like that. Okay. So I'll just read it one more time. Flipped, there's more, there's a little bit more to come, but I have to put on the next page. So flipped learning is a pedagogical approach. Okay, here's also what I want us to do while the getting's good, is I want you to underline or highlight in some way that, which moves direct instruction. I want you to underline direct instruction because that's all about Hunter, right? From the group learning space to the individual learning space. So individual learning space, okay, and the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic interactive learning environment. Next page, and I'll just switch back to white for a second. Environment where the teacher guides students as they apply, as there's a Bloom's word, right? As they apply, that is the worst A in the world, apply concepts and engage creatively with the subject matter, with the subject matter. Okay, and again, and not the only tool, but a great tool to accomplish this is a HyperDoc. Okay. All right. So, flipped classrooms and assessment. This will be like a little title. Okay. So when we talk about assessment, and this will be really not any kind of news to you or any new kind of content, we have formative assessment. And of course, along with formative, we have summative assessment. And remember, with our assessments and all that kind of stuff, we're trying to create a differentiated kind of approach, differentiated. Okay. And then the new word that you might have, or that we're going to talk about here in a sec, is authentic. Okay. And I want you to put the whole authentic assessment down, because you're going to hear about that as you progress now beyond year 2 into 3 and 4. You're going to hear people talk about authentic assessment and what authentic, and I want to underline that in red or just another color, some type of way to highlight it. Okay. And what authentic assessment really boils down to in the simplest of forms is like real world activities, that kind of idea. So, for example, in this class, authentic assessment is achieved through you here coming up here in the next bit, creating your own HyperDoc. That is a real, or your own lesson plan, right? So we do all that foundational piece, and Brad yaps about lesson plans and HyperDocs. And in the end, the authentic assessment piece is that you create a real world lesson plan and you can create a real world HyperDoc. Again, remember, the whole gist of that is that you could pick up that lesson plan tomorrow and teach it in a class. And the same thing would go with the HyperDoc. You could pick that HyperDoc up or deliver that HyperDoc to kids, and they would be able to do it at home or in class or wherever. Okay. So that's what authentic assessment is that real world final product that you want, and we can, if you want to put that in there, you can put in the word final product, okay, that you want from your students as evidence that there's actually been some kind of learning occurring. Okay. All right. And then the other sort of approaches that we talk about here with assessment is that, first of all, we already know that HyperDocs are inquiry based. So let's just write these words down. Inquiry based. Okay. Also, when we talk about these assessments, they can be project based. So like our dolphin diorama, right? It could be project-based, okay? Project-based. And there's always lots of these dash-based words, but I'll just throw one more in here, problem-based, okay? There's challenge-based, there's all kinds of different ones, but these assessments can be based on one of these different ideas, okay? And again, it just your approach to this will be, again, like I've said many times before, and if those of you who've had Ed 1500 from me or Ed 250 would have heard me also say that, again, it's what you're going to do is based on your values and beliefs, right? Some people will do this, some people will not. Some people will take a different based approach to their assessments. Rather than doing a project-based final assessment, we're just going to have a final test, right? So again, people will take different approaches. Okay, let's go into a new page. Okay, great. I'm just going to put in as a title, just kind of using them as a sort of a title here. And then I guess maybe we should put flipped classrooms, okay? Using them, yeah. Okay, so why would we want to use them then? Because it helps move us from passive learning right? And things like, lecture, right? When we call it post-secondary, we call it lecture, right? In a K-12 classroom, we don't necessarily call it that, right? We call it, delivering our lesson or whatever, right? Reading, a chapter, things like that. So we're moving or trying, at least attempting to move away from passive learning outside the classroom. It's about helps us move from passive learning, right? Which is these things, so again, outside the classroom. So that more time is available for interactive hands-on learning. And at least that's what we're striving for, right? We don't always necessarily get there all the time, based on time, based on a whole bunch of different factors. Sometimes we just say, you know what, we can't do that this time around. This time we got to do something a little bit more boring because TikTok time's ticking and I've got all of this curriculum to get through. So again, this is in the perfect world and, things just, going perfectly. Now I want to sort of read this. Yeah, because, just a sec here. It helps move us from I want to say here, I'm going to add a couple words in here because it helps us move us from the more. I just want to add those two words in here, right here. Okay, the more passive learning things like lecture, like reading a chapter, to outside of the classroom. So yes, because it helps move us from the more passive learning. I want to put the word elements in here too. Sorry. Outside the classroom so that more time is available for interactive hands-on learning inside the classroom. There we go. I'm kind of paraphrasing here a little bit, my big long notes. So there we go. That's what I want to get at. Okay. So again, the content piece done at home and the interactive, more, hands-on interactive stuff done that's, again, remember, that's the homework piece that's coming back to the classroom. Okay, what are we doing for time? All right, so one of the things that, again, this is kind of new idea, and some people are going to be on board with this and some people may not be on board with this. So one of the things that whenever we're going to try something new, we need to investigate what are the negatives here. And you're going to learn this very quickly. And I think I've mentioned this before in my 1500 classes. There's always going to be somebody on staff, whether it could be a staff member, it could be a parent, it doesn't matter. And I call them U-boat commanders, right? Because what they're going to do is they're going to try and torpedo your idea, right? They're going to find something that we can't do this because, right? Oh, that'll never work because, right? So they're always going to try and find a reason to not do something new or innovative and that kind of stuff. And I call those people U-boat commanders. If you're not familiar with U-boats, those are Nazi submarines or German submarines in World War II, right? It has really nothing to do with Nazism. It just has to do with somebody who just wants to poo-poo every idea that you throw out there. Okay, so let's just say, I don't know, maybe let's just say cons of flipped classrooms. Okay, right. First one, that why don't we see this in every single classroom in across the country? Well, you know why? Because this approach takes a lot of time. So we just say that it takes a lot of time, right? Again, it is much easier to go and stand in front of the photocopier with, a book of worksheets and just go put it on the photocopier and press a button and go, oh wait, for 32 copies, copy, right? That is much easier to do, right? And again, I'm not saying that there's not a time and place for worksheets and things like that we do on the photocopier, because they are time savers, right? It's already made for you. All you do is push a button and walk away, right? So this kind of learning is messy and it takes a lot of time. Okay. You might not get buy-in from your stakeholders. Okay. And what I mean by stakeholders, if you're not familiar with that term, really it's anybody who's involved with this. So we'll talk about students, although in a way they don't really have much of a choice. You can do whatever you want to them, right? But then we got parents that might say, well, I don't really like this idea. Your colleagues might not like it. And then we'll throw in here lastly, admin. Okay. If your admin doesn't like the idea, that's when you might want to push pause for a second and go, okay, my principal, my vice principal, principals aren't sure about this idea. That's where you're going to need to do your homework, right? So you're going to need to do some investigation. You're going to need to have all the reasons why this would work. And some of the things, obviously be aware of the things of why it might not work. Now, if you're getting pushback from parents, I mean, remember, part of this whole process is an education process for everybody, right? We need to teach kids how to do these HyperDocs and what flipped classrooms are about. We need to give parents an education about them as well, and your colleagues and your admin, right? When you do new and innovative things in your classroom, and the other grade 4 teacher, I'll use grade 4 as an example, pick whatever grade you want, but the other grade teacher that is your grade team partner or teachers aren't doing that, and you're doing this new innovative thing, and especially if parents and admin and the kids are loving it, it's not long before parents will say to your colleagues, why aren't you doing what McDermott's doing? My kid loves that. And then your colleagues aren't very happy with you because they just want to keep doing worksheets forever. But you want to try some new innovative things that are engaging and motivating and the kids are going to like and you're going to like. So sometimes there is just pushback on any new idea. It doesn't have to be flipped classrooms or HyperDocs or anything, on any new idea. And I can give you a real world example is when I worked in Innisfail, when we went to year-round schooling. Took a really, really long time to set that up so that year-round schooling was in place. There were still loads of parents that weren't in favor of it, but parents had the choice to either go traditional stream or the year-round stream. And I taught in that year-round stream. It took us a long time, and we did our homework on that. including why are all the reasons why you might not want to do this, right? So that we're prepared for all that pushback from the different stakeholders of why this might not be a good idea, at least for them personally, right? Because they're thinking personally. They're not thinking, well, this is actually a pretty good idea for everyone. They're thinking this is not a good idea for me or my kids because that doesn't work, right? So anyways, okay, so the whole stakeholders idea. One of the other ones is that this process of the HyperDocs and working at home on a computer can create, or there can be what we call a digital divide, right? And really what I mean by that is that there are kids like haves and have-nots, right? So what do you do with the kids then that say, well, Miss McDermott, I don't have a computer at home, or you know what, I live on a farm and our Wi-Fi sucks, and it's really for me to watch a video on a HyperDoc, or for a 5-minute video, it takes me 30 minutes to watch a 5-minute video, you know, those kinds of things. So we need to think about that. And in those videos on the Flip Classroom HyperDoc that I told you should watch, Bergman and Sam's, they answer all of those questions because they've been doing this for years and years now, and they've had all the, well, this won't work because, this won't work because, what if, right? All of those types of questions, they have the answers to those questions. I'm not going to give them to you today, but we will talk about them later on. Okay, how are we doing for time? The digital, so it can create this have and have not situation for whatever reason. It could be socioeconomic. It could just be simply, I have crappy Wi-Fi at home, you know, that kind of stuff. So we need to be cognizant of that and then have solutions to that. Right. And then another one that we need to think about, and this is kind of the last in this list, there's lots more, but this is just the last list, is that, you know, if we're asking kids to sit at home now in front of a computer again, we need to be mindful of the amount of screen time. So this can and does create more screen time, right? And we know that there are some negative effects of sitting in front of a computer screen all day long, right? We do know that. So there's more screen time. So we need to think about how do we mitigate that, right? Is, okay, if I'm asking them to spend 40 minutes at home doing this HyperDoc so that they can learn the content about dolphins and then come work on this project back at school, how do we mitigate that? Okay. And that's the question that we're not answering today. All right. Okay. Let me just find my mouse arrow here. Let's do a little bit more. No. Okay. We got probably room for, or time for one more things. Okay. Let's make a title here of unprepared students. And Bergman and Sam's and Katie Gimbar is the other person in those series of those videos. They answer this question. What do you do with kids? Because that's gonna be the number one question. Well, what if they don't do it? Right? Well, you sent this HyperDoc home and they were supposed to watch this stuff and do these things, but what if they don't do it? So unprepared students. Actually, you know what? There's a fair bit here that I want to talk about. So you know what we do? We'll call it a wrap. Okay. So we'll leave it there, and then we'll pick up at that on our notes next week on, I guess, on Tuesday when I see you. So if you're good to go, head out, start your weekend. And if you need to have questions or comments or anything else, stick around. If you're heading out, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. Annika, go ahead.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused.
Okay.
So for the HyperDoc, that has no due date, right? Like that's just for us to practice.
Which one?
The one that we were going through at the beginning of class, like making it.
Yeah, the one that we're just like all the tips and tricks one.
Yeah, like the dolphins one.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that is we're done. That's in your rear view now. You don't think about it anymore.
Okay.
Okay, now you need to make your own HyperDoc based on a grade, topic, and subject that you're interested in teaching.
Right. Okay.
Okay. You good? Annika, you're good?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. And Tyler, go ahead.
Hi, I was just wondering about the technology philosophy metaphor assignment, if you wanted it like one document for the metaphor, one for the philosophy, or
Sure.
if it's all right, if it's on one.
100%. Whichever way you want to split it up or combine it is 100% up to you. It's good. I'm good with one.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. You want me to call you Abby, or is Abigail good?
Either or.
Okay, go
But
ahead,
I
Abby.
just wanted to let you know I sent you an email about that because I was really confused on it, but then I reread it and I must have been really tired when I looked at it. So just ignore that because I figured it out.
Okay, so are you good though?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just confirm this with you though.
Okay.
So they're two different write-ups, right? Like you have your metaphor and then you have your philosophy. Okay, they're not combined.
Yeah. No, because you're gonna. I want you to do that metaphor. Remember, the metaphor is just your statement. You know what a technology is: an onion, a picture, and then a brief description, and that's worth 9 marks.
Okay. Does the picture have to be at the top? Because mine's at the bottom because it was a little big.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah. Go ahead, Elman.
Oh, do you want us to color our statements, kind of like you did on your?
I think in some way that it's easy to navigate for the end reader, right? And again, think about principals or superintendents that might be looking at that. Make it as easy as possible for that end viewer or reader to dissect what you've written. Okay, so however you do that is up to you. My approach was to color code it. You can do it any other way you want.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Anyone else? Jessica, go ahead.
I was just wondering about my extension for the philosophy. I'd asked you if Monday worked, but you didn't answer, so I wasn't sure if.
Oh, did I not? Monday works fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and just remind me in the private comments, and just put a little sentence in there saying, hey Brad, just remember that you said it was okay to hand this in late or something like that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You bet. Who else? All good questions. Everyone else is good? Okay. If you don't have any questions, then I think we'll end the session. I'm just going to stop recording. And of course, if you have any questions,